Thank you, everybody, for coming to the Aaron Torres Podcast YouTube page. If you could do me a quick favor, see that little subscribe button at the bottom of your screen? Go ahead, click that subscribe button. Really does help our channel grow, our audience grow, and I really do appreciate it more than you know. So click that subscribe button. Appreciate your support. Now, here's the video that you came here for. It was very clear from the beginning that Ohio State was the best team in college football, which results, of course, in their national championship, the first one since 2014. Yeah, it is pretty cool. The symmetry of Ohio State wins the first 4-team playoff 11 years ago. Now they have won the first 12-team, I guess it was 10 years ago, but then they win the first 12-team playoff here in 2025. Same time, though, I want to go ahead and dive into everything from the Ohio State perspective, including Ohio State's national championship. And I want to start with the topic that took over the internet on Monday night into Tuesday. And that question is very simply this. Hey, Ryan Day haters, where you at now? I bet you feel stupid, don't you? And by the way, Torres was one of those Ryan Day critics. Maybe listen, hater is such a stupid word, but hey, Ryan Day critics, where are you at now? What do you think about your boy that it was always dumb for you to call for his firing, always dumb for you to call for his head? Well, he just won a natty, so you all were wrong and we all were right. Except here's the thing. I'll be totally transparent. I tweeted it out and I truly believe it. Ohio State winning a national championship does not prove that the people who called for Ryan Day's job after the Michigan game were wrong. I actually think it's the exact opposite. I believe that the people who called for Ryan Day's job after the Michigan game, leading into the Tennessee game to open the college football playoff, I actually believe that this run by Ohio State proves that those people were right and they should feel vindicated today, not embarrassed. I tweeted as much on Monday night after the game. I said, quote, for the record, those who wanted Ryan Day fired after Michigan shouldn't feel dumb. They should feel vindicated. We all knew this program, what this program is capable of, and they weren't living up to that standard. The last month or so they have. Congrats to Ryan Day. Congrats to the Buckeyes on a natty. That was my perspective. That's what I shared. That's what I truly believe. And oh, by the way, Ohio State fans, if you're tuning in, make sure you're following our Torres on Ohio State account. Dom, who runs it, was on campus on Monday night, and safe to say it was pretty crazy. But let's go ahead and dive into the Ryan Day critics. Let's go ahead and talk about that perspective, and let's talk about the conversation of, does Ryan Day deserve an apology after this loss? And more importantly, were the people who called for his job wrong for doing so? Ultimately, I don't believe they were, and I think to talk about this fairly, we have to go back in real time to the moment in time after the Michigan game, not with a month of hindsight where you destroyed Tennessee, Oregon, beat Texas, and destroyed Notre Dame, but go back to that first weekend in December after the Michigan loss, and let's remember the context of that moment. The context was pretty straightforward. Ohio State had just lost as a 21-point home favorite to its biggest rival. It lost as a 21-point home favorite to its biggest rival in a year where the rival was basically as untalented as it is ever going to be in this era. And then, oh, by the way, they also lost a game in which the game plan was terrible, and it was a fourth straight loss to a team that you're never supposed to lose to. So that was the narrative. That was the conversation. You can't lose to Michigan, especially this year, especially given the circumstances, and why I feel like Ohio State fans or media should be vindicated if you were critical of Ryan Day. It's because it's pretty straightforward. I say this all the time about Ohio State, and I say it all the time about Ryan Day. Ohio State, in my opinion, just my opinion, I believe Ohio State in the NIL portal world is the best job in college football. What do I mean by that? It is that Ohio State has every single thing that you need to compete at the highest level in this era of college football. We know about the $20 million roster. We're going to get to that in a minute. We know about, by the way, this is something I think people lose in the shuffle. Chip Kelly is a $2 million a year offensive coordinator. He makes more than some some college football FBS head coaches. Jim Knowles is, I believe, second highest paid defensive coordinator behind Blake Baker at LSU. So you have what we believe to be the highest payroll in college football. You have the highest coordinator group in college football, highest paid coordinator group in college football, and you have a head coach that makes $10 million a year. And so ultimately, it's like the old saying goes, to whom much is given, much is expected, and Ryan Day was not living up to that standard. Because at the end of the day, as I always say, I don't care what Ryan Day's record is. I don't care how badly he beats Rutgers or Northwestern or Purdue or Illinois. We care as college football fans. I am not an Ohio State fan. By the way, this is not an Ohio State scarlet shirt, I should mention. But we care at Ohio State about three things. Do you beat Michigan? Do you win the Big Ten? And do you compete for national championships? Well, go back to the day after the season ended in the regular season. Ohio State's senior class was coming off of a fourth straight loss to Michigan. Ohio State's senior class was going to go a fourth straight year without playing for a Big Ten title. And if Ohio State's senior class did not make a run, they would go 4 years without winning a national championship. Now, there's no shame in not winning a national championship, but when you're at Ohio State, think about that legacy. Think about the fact that you can go basically three things you have to accomplish every year, or you should try to accomplish. Ohio State's seniors were about to go 0 for 12 on those goals. Beat Michigan, win the Big Ten, win the national championship. And so why we were critical of Ryan Day, it's not because we don't like him. It's not because we hate him. It is because we were critical for the simple fact that Ryan Day was not living up to the standard of Ohio State football. And so every fan who criticized them, they weren't wrong. They were actually right. What they were saying was, our standard is right here, Ryan Day, at the tip top of the sport. You're really close, but you're not here. And until you get here, we're not sure that you're the right man for the job, because everyone who's preceded you in this era, Jim Tressel won a national championship. Urban Meyer won a national championship and basically won the Big Ten every single year once he got things rolling. And so, Ryan Day, it's not that we don't like you. It's not that we have a personal vendetta, but you are the head coach at Ohio State football. And to whom much is given, much is expected. And to who we bestow this Ohio State job on, you have to live up to our expectations. And right now, you're not doing it. And so by criticizing Ryan Day, you know what it did? It actually brought out the best version of Ryan Day and the best version of Ohio State. And so if I'm going to be critical of Ryan Day every time he loses to Michigan, what I also have to say is this. This past month was his best coaching month of it. You could argue like 3 of the 4 games were the best coaching job he has done as the Ohio State head coach. The win over Tennessee, the win over Oregon. I thought the win over Texas, Texas is just a really good team. And then the win over Notre Dame. Those are like 3 of the most impressive coaching jobs that he's done, that his staff has done. And why I don't believe we should be apologizing for being critical of Ryan Day is because you know what happened when we were all critical of Ryan Day after the Michigan loss? Everyone in that building, starting with the head coach, had to look themselves in the mirror and say, hey, this isn't good enough. Hey, the standard that Ohio State football has is not being met. And if we don't meet it, the players, we have no legacy. And the coaching staff, we might all be out on our butts. And so the pressure that the media put out, the pressure that the fans put out, you know what it did? It elevated everybody in the building. It made Ryan Day say, I'm not doing good enough. It made Chip Kelly say, what the heck was I doing against Michigan? Why did I insist on running the ball down their throats when it was not working? Why did I not throw the ball to Jeremiah Smith? And it made the players reevaluate some things as well. I'm not an Ohio State beat writer, but anybody who covers Ohio State will tell you about the players only meeting the day after the Michigan game and the acknowledgement this isn't good enough and this is not the legacy that we want to leave. And so I bring it up solely to say I do not apologize for criticizing Ryan Day, and I don't think an Ohio State fan should either. I think it should be the opposite. You should say, I am part of this. I held my coach to the highest possible standard, and I made him meet that standard, and that's what Ryan Day has done. And so I don't believe fans should be apologizing for being critical, but I got to give it up. Ryan Day, I don't care how talented the roster is, and we're going to get into the NIL portion of this in a minute. I don't care how talented the roster is. You still got to coach it up. You still got to put guys in position to succeed, and you as a head coach have to have your team prepared, and that's exactly what Ryan Day did over the last 4 weeks. Credit to Ryan Day. Credit to Chip Kelly, who I thought had maybe his best game as a play caller at Ohio State on Monday night. Credit to Jim Knowles, credit to the entire staff, and credit to all those Ohio State players. You were a deserving national champion. I don't apologize for criticizing Ryan Day, but I also got to take the L because he proved me wrong over the last couple weeks. He proved a lot of people wrong over the last couple weeks. He is a worthy Ohio State head coach. He is now a national champion, and that will stay with him for forever, as well as the players on his roster.